She sat by the window again, same as the night before and the night before that. Some people in the neighborhood whispered about her, saying grief had taken her mind. Others swore they had heard it too, a small voice drifting through the night air, calling from somewhere beyond the streetlights. Every night at 2:13 a.m., she waited, because that was the time she first heard the whisper. A voice she recognized, a voice she would have given her life to hear again. The voice of her missing son. Silence. Then, a faint, breath-like whisper. "Mom?" This is the story of a mother named Elena Moretti, who lived in a busy suburb on the west side of the city. A place where buses hissed at every corner, neon signs flickered through bedroom curtains, and life never really stopped, not even at night. It is also a story about a boy named Daniel Moretti, 5 years old, brown eyes, loved space rockets, coloring books, and the stray orange cat that followed him to school every morning. Daniel vanished on Thursday in early October. No evidence, no witnesses, no sound. At least, not at first. The Morettis lived in apartment 3B of an aging brick building above a family-owned bakery. Down the block sat a playground, old, rusted, the paint peeling off the swing set. And beyond that, a narrow stretch of woods that did not belong in a city as crowded as this one. A place locals called the Strip of Quiet, because no matter how close the highway was, no sound ever carried through those trees. Some people avoided it. Daniel did not. Neighbors described Elena as a quiet but devoted mother. She worked nights at a small clinic, slept during the mornings, and spent afternoons walking Daniel home from school. The two of them had a ritual. Every evening, they sat together by their living room window and watched the streetlights turn on one by one, as if the city were taking a deep breath before nightfall. And sometimes Daniel would ask, "Mom, do the lights come on so people don't get lost?" And Elena would smile and say, "Yes, baby, exactly that." On October 6th, at 6:47 p.m., Elena let Daniel play downstairs with 2 other children from the building. She could see the courtyard from the kitchen window, and she checked on them every few minutes. At 7:03 p.m., Daniel was gone. No scream, no running footsteps, no door opening, just gone. Police were called, search teams formed, the woods were combed. The playground was dug up. Camera footage checked. Nothing. From that day forward, the lights in Elena's window stayed on all night. The first whisper came 8 days after Daniel disappeared. Elena had not slept more than a few hours since that evening. She sat by the window, arms wrapped around herself, staring down at the courtyard as if Daniel might simply walk back into view. It was 2:13 in the morning, cold enough that her breath fogged the glass. She told investigators later that she thought she had dreamed it. A small voice, thin and distant, the way a child might sound speaking into a fan. "Mom, I'm cold." She stood so quickly her chair fell over. She opened the window. Nothing but the hum of a street lamp. But she knew what she heard. And the next night, she heard it again. Within a week, neighbors were talking. Some said they heard the voice too. Others said Elena had lost herself to grief. But one thing every person on that street agreed on, no matter how loud the city outside became, taxis, sirens, shouting, when 2:13 a.m. arrived, it all went silent, as if the city itself were listening. By the third week, Elena stopped pretending she was trying to sleep. Each night, she brewed coffee at 1:50 a.m., sat by the window, and waited for 2:13. Some nights, nothing happened at all. But other nights, the whisper grew clearer. Sometimes it sounded like Daniel was farther away. Sometimes, like he was right below the window. The words changed, too. "Mom, I'm here. Why didn't you find me? I can't see the lights." She began answering aloud, voice cracking, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Tell me where you are, baby. I'll come get you. Just tell me where." But the whisper never answered her questions. It only repeated fragments of fear. When Elena returned to the precinct, she told detectives about the voice. But a mother claiming she heard her missing son whispering through the window at 2 a.m. was not something they could put in any official report. An officer wrote in a private case memo, "Mother appears exhausted and unstable, possibly auditory hallucinations from prolonged grief and sleep loss, increasing community rumors, complicating search efforts." The official line was still abduction. The unofficial line, spoken after doors were closed, they did not expect to find Daniel alive. The building residents grew uneasy. Some avoided walking past Elena's window at night. Some claimed street dogs wouldn't go near the courtyard anymore. The bakery owner downstairs told anyone who would listen that he heard the voice too. It sounded like a child trying to talk through water.
But others had a simpler explanation. They said Elena was playing recordings of Daniel's voice to keep the story alive. No one confronted her. No one offered help either. Word spread online, exactly the way rumors do when tragedy and mystery overlap. And that was how Samuel Dre, a paranormal investigator with a modest YouTube channel, appeared outside Elena's door. He asked to run an EVP session near the window, electronic voice phenomena, recording audio in hopes of catching a spirit's voice. Elena agreed. That night, they set a recorder on the windowsill. Windows closed, lights off. 2:13 a.m. The building seemed to hold its breath. Soft ambiance. Then, faint static. And then, through the recorder, cold. "Mom." The dark.
Samuel jerked his headphones off and whispered, "That's a child's voice. That's a child." He packed up his equipment and left before dawn. He never uploaded the footage. His channel went silent for 4 months. Elena stopped eating regularly. She barely spoke to anyone except the voice in the window. Friends tried to visit. She pushed them away. Her sister begged her to move out of the apartment, but Elena refused. "If he comes back and I'm not here, he'll be scared." She started placing a small blanket on the windowsill every night, as if Daniel might climb up from the courtyard and need warmth. Then she began leaving the window open, no matter the weather, because sometimes the whisper sounded too weak, and she didn't want a single word to be lost. On the 29th night, something changed. At 2:13 a.m., the whisper came again, but this time it wasn't only Daniel. The audio captured 2 voices. A child's voice, yes, but beneath it, deeper, distorted, like a wet breath dragged across stone. It spoke just once. "He's not yours." Elena slammed the window shut and screamed for it to leave her son alone. After that night, Daniel's whisper became shorter, more strained, as if something were pulling him away. Elena went to the woods,
the strip of quiet, a place she had avoided since the search ended. Leaves did not rustle, birds did not land. The stillness felt wrong, like standing in a room filled with someone else's breath. She stood there and whispered into the dark trees, "Daniel, are you here?" And from somewhere deep inside the woods,
Not loud, not close, but unmistakable. "Mom." After that night in the woods, Elena could no longer pretend this was imagination or grief. The strip of quiet had always been strange. Trees growing at wrong angles, branches tangled so tightly they blocked out the sky. The ground felt soft, almost hollow, as if something beneath it breathed. Locals said the woods were older than the city itself, older than the roads, older than the names people gave the streets. Children who grew up nearby were warned, never enter after dark, never answer if you hear someone calling your name. Most thought it was just an old superstition, but Elena knew better now. 2 days after Elena's visit to the woods, Samuel D. Ray, the paranormal investigator, returned. He looked thinner, eyes sunken, as if sleep had become a stranger. He confessed something. "I kept listening to the recording. There's more in it than what we heard that night." He played a remastered version of the EVP audio. Static. Then Daniel's voice. "I can't see the lights." A pause. Then something new, a whisper almost buried beneath the noise. "I'm under the leaves." Elena's knees buckled. Through tears, she whispered, "He's in the woods." Samuel alerted a former volunteer search and rescue contact. They agreed to go into the woods with specialized thermal equipment. No police, no reporters, just a mother and 2 strangers walking into a place that seemed to swallow sound. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Their breath came out in white streams, though the night was not that cold. The equipment began to fail, batteries draining all at once. Then, a child's voice drifted through the trees, clearer than ever before. "Mom, I'm close." Elena ran toward the sound. Samuel shouted after her, but he could not keep up. Elena reached a small clearing she had never seen before. The ground looked disturbed, soil pushed up, leaves scattered in a circle, as if something had crawled out or been buried. She fell to her knees and pressed her hands to the earth. "Daniel, baby, are you here? I'm here. I found you." For a long moment, just wind through the branches. Then, a whisper, right beside her ear. "I want to go home." She screamed for Samuel to help her dig, but he refused to enter the clearing.
His voice shook. "There is something else here. I can feel it watching." But Elena didn't stop. Her nails split. Her fingers bled. She tore at the soil until she reached fabric, small, faded pajamas with little rocket ships. She collapsed. Her body shook with a sound between a sob and a gasp of relief and unimaginable pain. At 2:13 a.m., exactly the time the whisper had first come to her window, every street light near the woods flickered and went black. In the pitch darkness, Samuel later said he saw shapes moving between the trees, small, thin, shifting like shadows made of breath. He grabbed Elena and pulled her away from the disturbed ground. Though she fought him at first, she finally stopped, staring back at the clearing as if she could still see Daniel sitting there. They left the woods. No one speaks of what they found buried in that clearing. The official case file still lists Daniel as missing. No recovery, no remains, nothing a court or a coroner could use. But Elena knew the truth. Her son had been there all along, just beyond the lights, just beyond the world she could reach. After returning home, Elena stopped waiting by the window. Instead, she left the hall light on and sat on the floor of Daniel's bedroom. His toys remained where he left them. A small wooden rocket stood on the dresser. His drawings still hung crookedly on the wall. That night at 2:13 a.m., the whisper did not come from outside. It came from inside the room, right behind her. "Mom, don't leave me in the dark again." Elena pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from screaming. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time since Daniel vanished, the whisper answered clearly, "I love you, Mom." For the next 3 nights, the voice spoke longer, sometimes only a few minutes, sometimes nearly an hour. Elena told no one. She simply listened, cradling his old blanket, her lips trembling with every word he said. But with each whisper, she felt something else forming in the room. A coldness that wasn't Daniel, something resentful, ancient. A presence that did not like the door between worlds being open. It was the 45th night since Daniel disappeared. Elena sat in his bedroom, knees drawn up, the blanket clutched tightly. The city outside pulsed with its usual noises, but inside, the air was unnaturally still. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the whisper came again, clear, tender, but weaker than before. "Mom, I'm cold." Elena reached out as if she could hold him, but her hands met only air. The room's temperature dropped rapidly. Frost formed on the edges of the window pane. A thin mist curled around her ankles. Her voice trembled. "I'm here, baby. I'll never leave you." The whisper responded, soft and fragile. "I know. I know." But the air pressed heavier against her chest. A shadow flickered in the corner, tall and dark, moving unnaturally against the walls. The gentle whisper of Daniel was joined by another voice, low, guttural, almost breathing. "He doesn't belong here." Elena's heart raced. She clutched the blanket tighter, rocking back and forth. The shadow coalesced. The room shivered as if the walls themselves were warning her to let go. Neighbors later reported hearing screaming, muffled and frantic, from apartment 3B. No one entered immediately. Most assumed Elena had broken down. When authorities finally arrived, the apartment was empty, except for a single small handprint pressed against the inside of the window. Elena was gone. Daniel was gone. No trace of either. No footprints outside. No evidence left behind. The blanket lay on the floor, still warm. The window was open, and a faint whisper could still be heard in the hallway if you listened very carefully. "Mom, I'm free." To this day, residents of the building report strange occurrences. At 2:13 a.m., some swear they hear a child's laughter drifting through the halls. Some hear the faint, desperate whispers of a mother calling back. Authorities consider the case cold. No files remain open. No witnesses come forward. But for anyone who lived near apartment 3B, one lesson remains painfully clear. Some doors once opened cannot be closed. Some voices once heard never leave you. And some losses are meant to echo forever. She waited by the window every night until the whisper finally came. And when it did, the world could no longer contain them. Soft fade-out of wind and distant childlike laughter. Remember their names, Elena, Daniel, because some stories are not meant to end quietly. Some stories demand to be remembered.